In this video, we are going to go over the 9B section of the review packet. So first, we're going to review some graphing. So my A is 3, my B is 1, I have no C value, and my D is -4. So my period is 2 pi divided by B, which will be 2 pi divided by 1, which is 2 pi. My amplitude is 3. I have no horizontal shift because I have no C, and my sinusoidal axis is going to be at y equals -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. 1, 2, 3 to my minimum, 3 to my maximum. So here's my new sinusoidal axis. And then I have no shift, and my period's 2 pi, so it's just going to be a normal y-axis. I also have a cosine curve, so cosine is a cup that starts up. So I'm going to start at the maximum, go to the middle, go to the minimum, go to the middle, go to the maximum. Domain is always -infinity to infinity. Range is min to max, so -7 to -1. So my A is -1, but my amplitude is 1. There's just a reflection. That's what the negative means. My period, my B value is 2, so 2 pi divided by 2 is going to give me pi. There is no C value, and since there's no D value, my sinusoidal axis is at 0. So this time, since my period is pi, that means my length of my cycle is pi. So that means my scale is going to change to represent quarters instead of halves. My sinusoidal axis is at 0, but I have an amplitude of 1. So no vertical shift. Sine starts in the middle, goes to the max normally, but now we have a reflection. So instead of going to the max, I'm going to go to the min, middle, max, middle. Again, domain always -infinity to infinity, min to max for my range. All right, in this one, I have a graph. They want to know some key characteristics. So I noticed that my max is at -1, and my min is at -7. So to find my sinusoidal axis or my middle, I'm going to average those, and I'm going to get -4. So that means my sinusoidal axis is here at -4. That means that I can see my amplitude better. So my amplitude is the distance here, so that's going to be 3. My period is going to be based off the length of one wave. So I'm starting at a max here. That means this is a cosine graph, so I'm going to go max to max. So max to max goes from 0 to pi, so 0 to pi would be a distance of pi. So in writing my equation, I know that my A is 3, my B is 2, because B is 2 pi divided by the period, so that's going to give me 2. C will depend on whether it's a sine or cosine function, and then D is the sinusoidal axis, so it'll be -4. So like I said, this function immediately speaks cosine to me because it's starting at the max on the y-axis. So that means my cosine is going to have no C shift, but my sine will have a C shift. So my cosine is going to be 3 cosines. It's A cosine, B minus D. And my sine is going to be very, very similar. So it's going to be 3 sine, 2. And we are going to have a C value, so we'll talk about that in a second. So since my sine starts in the middle, I want to pick somewhere that's going to start along my sinusoidal axis, and if I don't want a reflection, it needs to go up first. So I'm going to pick that to start here at -pi/4. So that means I'm going to put plus pi/4 here because that represents that left pi/4. I could have also said, maybe I'll start at, pick another color here. But if I want to start here and then do my sine curve like this, I could have started at pi/4, but then I'd have a reflected sine, which is fine. I would have had a -3 sine of 2 and then x minus pi/4 minus 4, because I'm starting right pi/4. But then I would have had a reflection since it's going down first. So there's lots of different equations that you could write for the graph. And our last question is a word problem. So they want to know what is the maximum height. So remember, our sinusoidal axis is our average. So my average or my middle, which actually doesn't ask. my average or my middle is 23, and then your amplitude tells you how high and low you go. So I'm going to do 23 plus 20, so my maximum is going to be at 43. And then my minimum is going to be at 3. So my Ferris wheel goes from 3 all the way up to 43 with a middle at 23. So if I think about my Ferris wheel, that means my radius is the same as the amplitude. So when I talk about my radius, that's the same as the amplitude, so it's going to be 20. Now, how long does it take the Ferris wheel to make one revolution? So we're finding the period, which is always 2 pi divided by b. In this case, it's a little hard to see the b value, but it's right here. It's pi over 4, so it's multiplied by my c, or by my t, excuse me. So we're going to have 2 pi over 1 times 4 over pi, which is going to give me 8 minutes, or seconds actually. It's a really fast Ferris wheel. Probably minutes. They're probably needed to adjust that.